The cargo bay of the ISS Horizon was never quiet. Machines hummed and beeped all day and all night. Metal clanged against metal. People shouted instructions across the wide space. It was the kind of noise that would drive most people crazy after an hour. But for Chief Engineer Laura Bennett, it was just another day at work. She walked between the massive fuel tanks, checking each connection point with her scanner. The device beeped green for each one. Good. No leaks, no pressure drops, everything running smooth. She marked each check on her tablet and moved to the next section. What made this morning different was the small weight on her back. Her daughter Maya was 8 months old and sleeping soundly in a special carrier. The carrier was designed for space stations, working in both normal gravity and zero-gravity areas. Right now, Maya's little head rested against her mother's shoulder blade, completely unbothered by all the noise around them. Laura had not planned to bring Maya to work today. The station had a nursery with trained staff who watched the children while parents worked, but this morning had been rough. Maya had been crying and fussy since dawn. Then Laura got the message that 2 nursery workers were sick with the flu. The remaining staff was overwhelmed with too many kids and not enough hands. So Laura made a choice. She strapped Maya to her back, grabbed her toolkit, and went to work. Commander Jake Morris stood on the observation deck above the cargo bay. He held a coffee mug in both hands and watched Laura work below. He tried not to smile, but it was hard. In his 20 years of space service, he had seen a lot of strange things. But watching an engineer check plasma relays with a sleeping baby on her back was definitely a first. The human crew members had gotten used to seeing Laura and Maya together over the past week. They thought it was normal now. But the alien members of the coalition were fascinated. They watched Laura like she was performing some kind of magic trick. Threlkon, a member of the Vrelny species, stood next to Commander Morris. The Vrelny looked like giant insects with hard shells and multiple arms. Threlkon tilted his head sideways, which was how his species showed confusion. "Commander Morris, I must ask a question," Threlkon said. His voice came out in clicks and buzzes that the translator converted to English. "Is this normal human procedure for mechanical work?" Jake took a sip of his coffee to hide his smile. "Not exactly normal, but we make it work." "Fascinating," Threlkon said. He pulled out his datapad and started taking notes. "Human flexibility continues to be greater than our predictions." Down in the cargo bay, Laura heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Pete Sullivan walking toward her with a toolkit in his hands. Pete was a good engineer and a better friend. He had worked with Laura for 3 years now. Pete looked at Laura's face, very carefully not looking at the sleeping baby on her back. He knew that if he looked at Maya, he would smile. And if he smiled, other people would notice. The whole crew had made an unspoken agreement to act like this was completely normal. "Need help with the portside couplings?" Pete asked. His voice was professional and casual. "Yeah, thanks," Laura said. She shifted her weight slightly. Maya made a small sound but did not wake up. "The readouts show a pressure change in line 7. Probably just a bad sensor, but I want to check it myself." Pete nodded and opened his tool kit. He pulled out a wrench and got to work on the coupling bolts. As he worked, he stole one quick glance at Maya. Her tiny fist had escaped from the carrier and was now holding onto her mother's shirt. Pete felt his mouth try to smile. He forced it back down and focused on the bolts. "Pressure looks stable from here," Pete said after a minute. "Want me to run a diagnostic?" "Please," Laura said. She was already pulling up the system controls on her tablet. They worked in silence for a few minutes. The cargo bay continued its usual chaos around them. A loading crew shouted as they moved supply crates. A transport vehicle beeped as it backed up. Somewhere in the distance, someone was welding metal, sending up showers of sparks. Maya slept through all of it. Lieutenant Sophie Grant walked past, carrying a stack of data tablets. She was the station's communications officer and one of Laura's closest friends. Sophie had short red hair and a constant expression that made her look slightly annoyed with the universe. "The frequency harmonics on Deck 3 are within normal range," Sophie said formally. She placed a tablet on Laura's workstation. Then her voice dropped lower and a tiny smile appeared on her face. "She's getting so big." Laura felt pride warm her chest. 3 pounds since last month," she said. Then she caught herself and made her voice professional again. "Thanks for the update on Deck 3. Sophie nodded and walked away, her professional mask back in place. The truth was simple but unspoken. The entire human crew had become Maya's protectors. They took turns playing with her during break times. When supply ships came from Earth, they ordered toys and baby supplies with their personal credits. They had worked together to make 3 entire sections of the ship safe for a crawling baby, even though Maya could not crawl yet. But around their alien colleagues, they acted like this was nothing special. Just another day. Just another task. Engineering diagnostics with an infant on your back was apparently normal human behavior. Up on the observation deck, Threlkon was still taking notes. "Commander, I have been studying human behavior since joining this station. But I do not understand this." Jake raised an eyebrow. "What don't you understand?" "The female carries her offspring while performing complex technical work. The offspring could be injured. There are regulations about safety. But no one seems concerned. In fact..." Threlkon paused, his translator struggling with the concept. "In fact, I believe many crew members are pleased by this situation." Jake smiled fully now. There were no other humans nearby to see it. "You're right. They are pleased. But why? This adds complexity to simple tasks. It reduces efficiency. It increases risk." "Does it?" Jake asked. He pointed down at Laura. She had just finished her diagnostics and was moving to the next section. Her movements were smooth and practiced. "She's completed more work this week than any other engineer on this station. And she's doing it with a baby on her back." Threlkon's antennae twitched. This was his species' version of a frown. "How is this possible?" "Because she's motivated," Jake said. "She knows she has to prove this can work. She knows people are watching. She knows her daughter's safety depends on her being careful and smart. So she's more focused than ever." "And the other humans? Why do they accept this?" Jake thought about how to explain it. "Humans are pack animals, Threlkon. We protect our young together. It's not just Laura's job to care for Maya. It's all of our jobs. Every person on this crew would die to protect that baby." Threlkon was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "This is not weakness." "No," Jake agreed, "it's not. This is strength. A different kind of strength than we understand. Now you're getting it." Down in the cargo bay, Laura finished her checks and marked the last item on her tablet. Maya was starting to wake up. Laura felt the small body on her back begin to squirm. She reached back and patted Maya's leg gently. "Almost done, sweetie," she whispered. "Then we'll get you some food." Maya made a gurgling sound that might have been agreement. Laura looked up and saw Commander Morris watching from above. He raised his coffee mug in a small salute. Laura nodded back and returned to work. Just another day on the ISS horizon. Just another shift in the endless routine of maintaining a space station. Nothing special, nothing unusual, except for the smiles that every human was carefully hiding. Except for the baby sleeping peacefully while her mother kept a space station running. Except for the quiet revolution happening in plain sight, changing how the entire galaxy thought about strength and family and duty. But none of that mattered right now. Right now, Laura had 6 more sections to check before lunch, and Maya would probably be hungry soon. So she walked to the next fuel line, pulled out her scanner, and got back to work. Behind her, Pete was already smiling. 3 days had passed since the Vrelny observer started taking notes about Laura and Maya. Word had traveled fast through the coalition network. By the third day, everyone knew about the human engineer who worked with her baby strapped to her back. The communication came in during Gamma shift. Commander Jake Morris was reviewing supply reports when his screen lit up with an incoming transmission marked as high priority. The seal of the Galactic Coalition flashed on the screen. Jake straightened his uniform and accepted the call. Admiral Vexthor appeared on the monitor. He was a Korthan, one of the oldest and most powerful species in the Coalition. His face was covered in dark green scales. His eyes were yellow and sharp. 2 horns curved back from his head. When he spoke, his voice was deep enough to make the speakers vibrate. "Commander Morris, we have received disturbing reports from your station." Jake kept his face neutral. "What kind of reports, Admiral?" "Reports that one of your crew members is bringing an infant to active duty stations. Reports that this infant is present during dangerous mechanical operations. This violates standard safety protocols across 17 different Coalition regulations." "With respect, Admiral, those regulations apply to Coalition species who require specialized care for their young. Humans have different needs." Admiral Vexthor's scaled brow ridge lowered. It was the Korthan equivalent of a scowl. "Explain." "Chief Bennett is one of my best engineers, possibly the best engineer in this sector. She maintains all safety protocols. Her work quality has not decreased. In fact, her efficiency ratings have gone up by 12% this month." "Efficiency is not the issue," the Admiral said. His clawed hand made a sharp gesture. "The issue is the safety of an offspring in a military environment. In Korthan culture, young are kept in protected nurseries for their first 5 years of life. They are guarded by specially trained warriors. They are never exposed to industrial areas or potential combat zones." "Human young are different," Jake said carefully. "We've been adapting our child care to our circumstances since before we left Earth. This is just another adaptation. An adaptation that puts an innocent life at risk. An adaptation that keeps a family together while maintaining our mission readiness. Sir, if I may be direct, forcing Chief Bennett to choose between her career and her child would be more dangerous. Humans don't function well when separated from their offspring. It causes stress, reduces focus, and decreases performance." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. His yellow eyes stared through the screen. "I am scheduling an official review of your station procedures. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you reconsider this policy." The screen went dark. Jake let out a long breath and rubbed his face with both hands. Then he reached for his communicator. "Morris to Bennett, can you come to my office?" "On my way, sir." 5 minutes later, Laura arrived. Maya was awake now, looking around with wide, curious eyes. The baby saw Jake and made a happy gurgling sound. "Sit down," Jake said. Laura sat. Her face showed nothing, but Jake could see the tension in her shoulders. "Is this about the Admiral's call?" "You heard?" "Sophie told me. Communications officer hears everything." Laura adjusted Maya's position slightly. "Am I being ordered to stop bringing her to work?" "No," Jake said firmly. "But I need you to understand the situation. The Coalition leadership is concerned. Some of them think we're being reckless. If anything goes wrong, if Maya gets hurt even slightly, they'll use it as proof that humans are unfit for military service. Nothing will go wrong. You can't promise that. None of us can. This is a space station. Accidents happen." Laura met his eyes. "Sir, permission to speak freely?" "Always. Maya is safer here than she would be in the nursery. In the nursery, she's one of 20 kids with 3 overworked staff members. Here, she's surrounded by trained military personnel who would throw themselves in front of a plasma blast for her. Every person on this crew watches out for her. They check on her, they help me. If there's an emergency, I have 50 people who will grab her and run to safety." The Admiral doesn't see it that way. The Admiral is Korthan. Their species has tough scales and can survive falls that would kill a human. Their babies are born able to walk. They don't understand that human infants are fragile and need constant care. They don't understand that we evolved to carry our babies with us, not lock them away. Jake leaned back in his chair. So, what do you want me to tell him? Tell him the truth. Tell him that human strength comes from our flexibility. Tell him that we don't choose between duty and family because we don't have to. We do both. Maya chose that moment to reach out toward Jake's desk. She grabbed at a stylus and missed. Her face scrunched up in concentration. She tried again. This time she caught it. She brought it to her mouth immediately. No, sweetie, Laura said gently. She took the stylus away and replaced it with a rubber toy from her pocket. Maya accepted the trade and started chewing on the toy instead. Jake watched this exchange and felt something settle in his mind. Okay, I'll back you up, but Laura, you need to be perfect. No mistakes, no close calls. If the coalition is watching us, we need to prove them wrong. Understood, sir. After Laura left, Jake sat alone in his office for a while. Then he pulled up the station roster and started making notes. If the coalition wanted to review their procedures, he would give them a review that showed exactly how well this arrangement worked. Down in engineering, Pete was waiting for Laura. How bad was it? Could have been worse, Laura said. She set Maya down in the protected play area they had built in the corner of engineering. It was surrounded by soft barriers and had toys scattered across the floor. The Admiral isn't happy, but Morris is backing us up. Good. Because I already told my family back on Earth about this, and my mom thinks it's great. She said she used to bring me to her mechanic shop when I was a baby. Laura smiled. Really? Yeah. Apparently, I loved watching her work. She said I would just sit there for hours, completely fascinated by the tools and machines. That's adorable. She also said I ate a bolt once and she had to take me to the hospital. Okay, less adorable. They both laughed. Maya looked up at the sound and laughed too, even though she had no idea what was funny. Sophie appeared in the doorway. I'm not interrupting anything, am I? Just sharing childhood trauma, Pete said. What's up? I've been monitoring coalition communication channels. The chatter about us has tripled in the last hour. Everyone's talking about the human with the baby. What are they saying? Laura asked. Mixed reactions? Some species think we're crazy. Some think we're innovative. The Vrelny are fascinated and want to study us more. The Korthans think we're violating natural law. Natural law, Pete snorted. What does that even mean? For them, it means young should be protected and separated. They don't understand species that keep their babies close. Laura picked up Maya and held her close. Then they don't understand humans at all. Later that evening, Laura was in her quarters feeding Maya dinner. The baby sat in her high chair, smashing pureed vegetables all over her face and hands. It was messy and chaotic and completely normal. The door chimed. Come in, Laura called. Danny Carter entered. He was a junior engineer, fresh out of training, barely 22 years old. He looked nervous. Chief, can I ask you something? Sure, Danny. What's on your mind? Is it true that the coalition might shut down what you're doing? Laura wiped Maya's face with a cloth. Maya immediately grabbed the cloth and tried to eat it. They might try, but I don't think they'll succeed. Why not? Because we're proving it works. Every day I do my job and take care of my daughter. Every day the station runs smoothly. Every day we show them that human adaptability is real. Danny nodded slowly. My girlfriend back on Earth is pregnant. We just found out last week. I've been worried about what it means for my career. But seeing you, it gives me hope. Laura felt warmth spread through her chest. You'll be fine, Danny. We look after our own. That's what humans do. After Danny left, Laura finished feeding Maya and got her ready for bed. She sang a soft lullaby as she rocked the baby to sleep. Maya's eyes grew heavy and finally closed. Laura laid her daughter in the crib and stood watching her sleep. Such a small person. Such a huge impact. Maya had no idea that her mere existence was challenging centuries of coalition tradition. She had no idea that alien species across the galaxy were debating whether her mother was brilliant or insane. She was just a baby, safe, loved, and peaceful. And that was exactly the point. Laura's communicator buzzed softly. A message from Jake. Coalition review team arrives in 1 week. Be ready. Laura looked at her sleeping daughter and smiled. She was ready. The alarm started at 3:42 hours. Laura woke instantly from a dead sleep, her heart already racing before her mind understood why. The sound was wrong. Not the normal daily alarms. This was the emergency klaxon, the sound that meant something very bad was happening. She rolled out of bed and grabbed her uniform. Maya was crying in her crib, frightened by the noise. Laura scooped her up with one hand while pulling on her boots with the other. Her communicator was already buzzing with incoming messages. All personnel, this is Commander Morris. His voice was calm but urgent. We have a hull breach on Deck 9 in the xenobiology labs. Engineering teams report to damage control stations. Medical teams to standby positions. This is not a drill. Laura's blood went cold. Deck 9 was only 2 sections away from where she stood. A hull breach meant the vacuum of space had found a way inside. If the emergency force fields failed, explosive decompression would tear through multiple decks. People would die. Maybe lots of people. She ran to the door, still holding Maya. The corridor outside was full of crew members rushing to emergency stations. The lights had switched to red alert status, painting everything in harsh crimson. Bennett! Pete's voice came through her communicator. We need you on breach control right now. The primary field generator is failing. Laura stopped running. She looked down at Maya, who was still crying and clutching her mother's uniform. For one terrible second, Laura felt frozen. She was needed in 2 places at once. She had to choose. Then Sophie appeared from around the corner, moving fast but controlled. She saw Laura and understood immediately. Give her to me, Sophie said. Her hands were already reaching out. Laura felt her throat tighten. She just ate an hour ago. If she gets hungry, there's a bottle in my locker. The code is 7734. She likes to be rocked side to side, not front to back. If she won't stop crying, try singing. She likes that song about the stars, and she... I know, Sophie interrupted gently. I've got her. Go save lives. Laura transferred Maya into Sophie's arms. The baby reached back toward her mother, confused and scared. Laura forced herself to turn away and run. The scene outside Lab 7 was controlled chaos. Emergency barriers had slammed down, cutting off the damaged section. But through the transparent aluminum, Laura could see the problem. Part of the outer hull had buckled inward. A jagged crack ran along the wall. Beyond it was the black emptiness of space. Emergency force fields flickered and sparked where they met the breach. They were the only thing keeping everyone alive. And they were failing. Pete saw Laura arrive, and his face showed relief mixed with fear. The primary field generator is overloading. We've got maybe 5 minutes before it collapses completely. Laura pulled up the system diagnostics on her tablet. Numbers scrolled across the screen, all of them bad. The generator was running at 140% capacity, trying to cover a breach that was too big. The power relays were burning out one by one. What about backup generators? She asked. Already online. They're not enough. Laura's mind raced. She had designed parts of this system. She knew every circuit, every relay, every backup protocol. There had to be a solution. There was always a solution. Who's trapped inside? She asked. Threl Khan, Commander Morris said. He had appeared beside her, his face grim. He was running late-night experiments when the hull failed. He's injured but alive. stuck in an air pocket near the back wall. Laura felt sick. Threlkon, the Vrelny observer who had been so fascinated by her work with Maya. Now he was trapped and dying while she stood here trying to solve an impossible problem. She closed her eyes and forced herself to think. Block out the fear. Block out the image of Maya crying in Sophie's arms. Block out everything except the problem in front of her. The force field needed more power, but there was no more power to give. Unless... Her eyes snapped open. We can reroute power from the secondary grid. If we boost the field harmonics and distribute the load across multiple generators instead of one, we can stabilize it long enough to get repair drones in position. Danny Carter, who had been listening, spoke up. That will take gravity offline in sections 12 through 16. Better than losing the entire deck, Laura shot back. Do it, Commander Morris ordered. Laura's fingers flew across her tablet. She pulled up the power distribution controls and started rerouting circuits. She had done similar operations before, but never under pressure like this. Never with lives hanging in the balance. Never with her baby crying somewhere in the distance. She could hear Maya, even through the walls and floors, even through the emergency alarms. She could hear her daughter screaming. Every instinct in her body was screaming too, telling her to go to Maya, to comfort her, to protect her. She ignored it and kept working. Power reroute in progress, Pete called out. Sections 12 through 16 acknowledging gravity loss. Field strength increasing, Danny added. 60%, 65, 70. Laura made a final adjustment to the harmonics. Hold steady. Don't let it spike. Holding at 73%, Pete confirmed. That's enough, Laura said. She opened the repair drone controls. Deploying drones now. They'll seal the breach from the outside. 6 small robots launched from their bays and flew toward the damaged hull. Their cameras showed the terrible beauty of the breach. Stars shone through the crack. The drones' welding torches lit up as they began their work. Medical team ready for extraction, someone reported. Give the drones 2 minutes, Laura said. Then we can safely drop the field and pull Threlkon out. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. Laura watched the drone progress on her tablet. Weld integrity at 40%, 50%, 60%. Every number felt like a small victory. Finally, the main drone signaled completion. Seal is holding, Pete said. We're at 95% integrity. Drop the emergency field, Commander Morris ordered. Medical team, move in. The force field flickered and died. The medical team rushed through the door with a stretcher. 30 seconds later, they emerged carrying Threlkon. His hard shell was cracked in several places. His antennae hung limp. But his breathing was steady. He'll make it, the medical officer reported. Get him to the bay. The emergency was over. Laura felt her legs start to shake. The adrenaline that had kept her going suddenly had nowhere to go. She grabbed a handrail to steady herself. Commander Morris put a hand on her shoulder. Outstanding work, Chief. You just saved lives. Just doing my job, sir, Laura managed to say. Your daughter slept through the entire thing, according to Grant, he added. His stern face cracked into a small smile. Apparently nothing bothers that kid. Laura laughed. It came out shaky and slightly hysterical. She gets that from her father. Pete appeared beside them. Bennett, that was incredible. I've never seen anyone reroute a power grid that fast. Fear is a great motivator, Laura said. But as she stood there, surrounded by her crew, she realized something. The fear had made her sharper, not weaker. The knowledge that Maya was somewhere on this station crying and scared had not distracted her. It had focused her, because she knew that if she failed, Maya would be in danger too. Everyone on this station would be in danger, so she could not fail. It was that simple. Later, after all the reports were filed and the damage assessment was complete, Laura finally made it back to her quarters. Sophie was there, sitting in a chair with Maya asleep in her arms. "She cried for about 10 minutes," Sophie said quietly. "Then I sang that star song and she calmed down. Been asleep for the last hour." Laura took her daughter gently, trying not to wake her. Maya stirred slightly but did not open her eyes. Laura held her close and felt tears start to run down her face. "Thank you," she whispered to Sophie. "That's what we do," Sophie said. "We take care of each other." After Sophie left, Laura sat in the dark with Maya sleeping in her arms. She thought about the Admiral's concerns. She thought about the coalition review team that was coming. She thought about all the aliens who believed humans were being reckless and irresponsible. Let them think what they wanted. Tonight, she had proven something important. She could do her duty and be a mother at the same time. She could save lives with her baby crying in the distance. She could make impossible choices and live with them. Because that was what humans did. They adapted, they endured, they protected what mattered, and got the job done. Maya made a small sound in her sleep. Laura kissed her daughter's forehead and held her tighter. "You're safe," she whispered. "You'll always be safe. I promise." And for the first time since the alarms woke her, Laura felt like she could breathe again. The coalition review team arrived exactly 1 week after the hull breach incident. Their ship docked at 0900 hours with full military ceremony. Commander Morris had assembled the senior staff to greet them properly. Laura stood at attention with Maya strapped to her back. The baby was awake and alert, looking around at all the activity with wide, curious eyes. Laura had debated leaving her in the nursery for this important meeting, but that would have sent the wrong message. So here they were, both of them, ready to be judged. General Kreshatar stepped through the airlock first. He was huge, nearly 7 feet tall with dark green scales that looked like armor plating. His yellow eyes scanned the assembled crew with military precision. Behind him came 4 other Korthan officers, all taking notes on their datapads. "Commander Morris," the general said. His voice was deep and commanding. "I am General Kreshatar of the Korthan Third Fleet. We are here to conduct a thorough review of your station's safety procedures." "Welcome to the ISS Horizon, General," Jake said formally. "My crew is at your disposal." The general's eyes moved across the lineup and stopped on Laura. More specifically, stopped on the baby on her back. His scaled brow ridges drew together. "This is Chief Engineer Laura Bennett," Jake said smoothly. "She's responsible for maintaining all primary systems on this station." "And the offspring?" the general asked bluntly. "My daughter, Maya," Laura said. She met his eyes without flinching. 8 months old. "I see." The general made a note on his datapad. "We will begin our inspection immediately." For the next 4 hours, the Korthan team examined every system on the station. They checked safety protocols, reviewed maintenance logs, and questioned crew members about procedures. They were thorough and professional, and they were clearly looking for any excuse to declare the human approach unsafe. Laura continued her normal duties during the inspection. She had systems to maintain and work to complete. The fact that alien observers were following her around did not change that. Maya stayed on her back, content to watch all the interesting activity. In engineering, Laura was explaining a complex power distribution issue to 2 junior technicians when General Kreshatar appeared with his entourage. "The secondary relay needs to be recalibrated every 72 hours, Laura was saying. "If you wait longer than that, you risk system drift. See this reading here? That's the baseline. Anything more than 5% variance means you need to adjust." The junior techs nodded, taking notes. "Chief Bennett," the general interrupted. Laura turned. "Yes, sir?" "I have been informed that you were instrumental in preventing a catastrophic hull breach 3 days ago." "I did my job, sir. My team did excellent work under pressure." And you performed this duty while responsible for an infant. During the actual emergency response, my daughter was with a colleague. Lieutenant Sophie Grant took care of her while I worked. One of the Corthan officers spoke up. His voice was sharp with skepticism. What would have happened if no colleague was available? If you were the only engineer on duty? Laura considered the question carefully. Then I would have secured my daughter in the protected area we've established in engineering and responded to the emergency. She would have been frightened but safe. Frightened is unacceptable for Corthan Young, the officer said. Our offspring must never experience fear or distress. With respect, sir, human young experience fear regularly. It's part of how we learn and grow. A few minutes of fear is not harmful if the child is otherwise loved and cared for. The officer looked like he wanted to argue, but General Kreshatar raised a hand to stop him. Continue with your work, Chief Bennett. We will observe. So Laura continued. She showed the junior techs how to recalibrate the relay. She checked 3 other systems on her list. She answered questions from her crew and made notes about upcoming maintenance tasks. And through it all, Maya sat quietly on her back, occasionally making small, happy sounds. At one point, Maya started to get fussy. Laura could feel her squirming and beginning to fret. It was close to feeding time. Laura reached into the bag at her hip and pulled out a bottle. She twisted her arm behind her back in a practiced motion and guided the bottle into Maya's mouth. The baby latched on and started drinking, content again. She did this all while explaining a technical procedure to Pete. She did not stop working. She did not stop talking. She just fed her child and continued with her duties. General Kreshatar watched this with an expression that was hard to read. One of his officers leaned close and whispered something. The general's eyes narrowed. Later, in the main observation deck, the Corthan team gathered to review their findings. Commander Morris and Laura were called to attend. Chief Bennett, General Kreshatar began, your technical skills are exceptional. Your knowledge of these systems is comprehensive. Your crisis response during the hull breach was exemplary. Thank you, sir, Laura said. However, the general continued, I remain concerned about the presence of your offspring in operational areas. What happens if the child becomes distressed during a critical operation? Then one of the other 20 crew members who care about her takes over for 5 minutes while I handle the situation, Laura said. Sir, if I may speak freely? Please do. You're looking at this from a Corthan perspective. In your culture, young are kept separate and protected. That works for your species, but humans evolved differently. We're pack animals. We protect our young collectively, not individually. Maya is not just my responsibility. She's everyone's responsibility. Collective childcare, one of the officers said with obvious doubt. Yes, sir. Every person on this crew would die to protect her. She's not a weakness or a distraction. She's a member of this crew, just like everyone else. Pete, who had been standing nearby trying to look professional, spoke up. Permission to add something, sirs? General Kreshatar nodded. I've worked with Chief Bennett for 3 years, Pete said. In the past month since she started bringing Maya to work, her efficiency ratings have gone up by 12%. Not down, up. She's more focused, more careful, and more determined to get things done right. If anything, having her daughter here makes her a better engineer. Danny Carter stepped forward too. And it's not just her. The whole crew's morale has improved. We work harder because we know we're protecting something innocent and precious. It reminds us why we're out here in the first place. General Kreshatar was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to one of his officers. Show me the efficiency reports. The officer pulled up data on a large screen. Graphs and charts appeared, showing station performance over the past 6 months. There was a clear uptick in the last month. Response times were faster. Maintenance completion rates were higher. System failures were down. This is unusual, the general admitted. It's human, Jake said simply. The general turned his attention to Maya, who had fallen asleep again. Her small head rested against her mother's back, her face peaceful and relaxed. "She shows no fear," the general observed. "Even surrounded by strangers and strange species, she is calm." "Why would she be afraid?" Laura asked. "She's surrounded by people who love her." One of the Corthan officers, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. His scales were lighter than the others, suggesting he was younger. He looked at Maya with something that might have been wonder. "I have offspring," he said quietly. 3 young ones. I have not seen them in 2 years because of my military service. We believe this sacrifice is necessary. That duty requires separation from family." "It doesn't have to," Laura said gently. "Maybe there's another way." The young officer looked at General Kreshetar. The general's expression was unreadable. Finally, General Kreshetar spoke. "I came here expecting to find chaos and irresponsibility. I expected to find a violation of every standard the coalition has established." Laura felt her heart sink. "Instead," the general continued, "I find a crew operating at peak efficiency. I find safety protocols being followed rigorously. I find an engineer who prevented a major disaster while managing the care of an infant. And I find that infant not only surviving, but thriving in an environment that should terrify her." He paused and looked directly at Laura. "You have proven something today, Chief Bennett. You have proven that human standards cannot be judged by non-human metrics. You have proven that strength comes in forms we did not expect. And you have proven that duty and family need not be enemies." Laura felt tears threatening. She forced them back. "Thank you, sir." "Do not thank me yet," the general said. "My report will state that while unconventional, your methods appear to be effective for your species. However, I will also note that this approach requires a level of crew cohesion and mutual support that may not be possible on all vessels." "Understood, sir." The general reached into his uniform and pulled out a small medallion. It bore the seal of the Corthan Third Fleet. "This is for exceptional service under adverse conditions," he said, holding it out to Laura. "You earned it during that hull breach. The fact that you did so while being a mother does not diminish the achievement. If anything, it makes it more remarkable." Laura took the medallion with shaking hands. "I don't know what to say." "Say nothing. Just continue to prove us all wrong about what humans can achieve." As the Corthan team prepared to leave, the young officer approached Laura one more time. "May I ask a question?" he said quietly. "Of course." "Is it truly possible to serve and to be a parent at the same time?" Laura looked down at Maya, still sleeping peacefully. Then she looked back at the officer and smiled. "We're proving it every day." 3 months after General Kreshetar's visit, reports started coming in from across Coalition space. At first they were small notes in routine communications. A human cargo vessel where a crew member worked with a newborn in a sling. A research station where a scientist brought his toddler to the lab. A patrol ship where the captain's twins played in a corner of the bridge during gamma shift. It had started slowly, but now it was spreading. Human families across the galaxy were finding ways to keep working while keeping their children close. And the results were impossible to ignore. Commander Jake Morris read through the latest batch of reports in his office. Efficiency ratings up across the board. Safety compliance holding steady or improving. Crew cohesion reaching levels that made coalition psychologists scratch their heads in confusion. The humans were doing something that should not work, and it was working brilliantly. A message pinged on his screen. It was from Admiral Vex Thor himself. Jake opened it with some concern, remembering their last tense conversation. "Commander Morris, I am attaching the final analysis from General Kreshetar's review team. I believe you will find the conclusions interesting. I was wrong to doubt your methods. The Coalition owes humanity an apology, and our thanks for teaching us a valuable lesson about flexibility." Jake leaned back in his chair and allowed himself a smile. Down in engineering, Laura was teaching Maya to walk. The baby was almost a year old now and had started taking wobbly steps a few weeks ago. The low-gravity sections of the station were perfect for practice. Maya would take 3 or 4 steps, fall onto her bottom with a soft thump, giggle, and pull herself up to try again. Half the engineering crew had stopped working to watch. They tried to be subtle about it, but they were not fooling anyone. "Come on, sweetie," Laura encouraged. She held out her hands. "You can do it." Maya took a step, then another, then 3 more before her legs gave out. Pete was ready and caught her before she hit the ground. "Nice catch, Sullivan," Danny called out with a grin. "I played baseball in college," Pete said proudly. He set Maya back on her feet. "Try again, little one." The door opened and Threlkon entered. His injuries from the hull breach had healed well. His shell had been repaired and his antennae were alert and active. He had spent the last 3 months observing human behavior with even more interest than before. "Chief Bennett, I have completed my report on human childcare practices," he announced. "Oh?" Laura scooped up Maya before she could grab a tool that had been left on the floor. "What did you conclude? That humans are either completely insane or absolutely brilliant. I have not yet determined which." Threlkon tilted his head in his species' version of a smile. "Perhaps both." Laura laughed. "That sounds about right. More seriously, I believe your species has discovered something important. You have found a way to maintain military readiness while honoring the biological need to protect your young. Other species separate these duties because we believe they are incompatible. But humans refuse to choose. You simply do both." "Is that going in your report?" Laura asked. "It is the entire conclusion of my report. The Coalition has much to learn from humanity." Maya, who had been listening to Threlkon's clicking voice, suddenly reached out toward him. She made grabbing motions with her hands. "Ba ba ba," she babbled. Threlkon froze. "Is the offspring attempting communication?" "She likes you," Laura said with amusement. "She wants you to hold her." "I am not equipped for handling human young. My species has hard exoskeletons. She could be injured." "You saved her life during that hull breach," Laura said quietly. "If you hadn't been running those experiments, if you hadn't been there to trigger the emergency alarms when the hull started failing, we might not have had time to respond. So yeah, I trust you to hold my daughter." Threlkon's antennae trembled with an emotion his translator could not name. Slowly, carefully, he reached out and took Maya into his 4 arms. He held her gently, like she was made of glass. Maya looked up at him with huge eyes. Then she reached up and patted one of his antennae. The entire engineering bay held its breath. Threlkon made a sound that the translator rendered as laughter. "She is fearless." "She's human," Pete said. "We're all a little crazy." Later that evening, Laura received a call from her sister on Earth. Katie's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but happy. "You're famous," Katie said without preamble. "What are you talking about?" "That report from the Courthin General. It's everywhere. People are calling you the mother who changed the galaxy." Laura felt her face heat up. "That's ridiculous. I'm just doing my job." "Just doing your job," Katie repeated. "Laura, do you have any idea how many parents you've helped? I've been getting messages from friends all over Earth. People who felt like they had to choose between their careers and their kids. Now they're seeing that maybe they don't have to choose. Maybe there's another way." "I never meant to start a movement," Laura said quietly. "But you did, and it's a good thing. You're showing people that being a parent doesn't make you weak or less capable. If anything, it makes you stronger." After the call ended, Laura sat in the quiet of her quarters. Maya was already asleep in her crib, one small fist curled near her face. Laura watched her daughter breathe and felt overwhelmed by the weight of what was happening. She had not set out to change anything. She had just wanted to keep doing her job while taking care of her baby. It seemed simple, practical, the obvious solution to a common problem. But apparently, to the rest of the galaxy, it was revolutionary. A soft knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Come in," she called quietly. Sophie entered, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this." "You're a mind reader," Laura said gratefully. She accepted the cup and took a sip. "Have you seen the reports? About human parents copying what you did?" "Yeah. It's spreading like wildfire. There are at least 30 ships now where crew members are bringing their kids to work." And it's working. Every single one of them is reporting the same results we saw. Better morale, higher efficiency, stronger crew bonds. The coalition analysts are going crazy trying to understand it. Laura smiled. "They're overthinking it. It's not complicated. We're just being human." Maybe that's what makes it so hard for them to understand. Other species try to logic everything out. They create complex systems and rigid rules. But humans just adapt. We see a problem, and we find a way around it. "Or through it," Laura added. "Or through it," Sophie agreed. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, drinking their coffee and watching Maya sleep. "You know what's really changed?" Sophie said eventually. "It's not just about bringing kids to work. It's about how we see strength. For the longest time, the galaxy thought strength meant being tough and independent and never needing help. But we're showing them that strength can also mean being flexible and connected and willing to ask for support." "We're redefining what it means to be strong," Laura said. "Yeah, and that scares some people. But it's inspiring a lot more." Over the next few weeks, the changes continued. More human vessels adopted similar policies. Some alien species started asking questions, wondering if their own traditions needed to be reconsidered. The young Corthan officer who had spoken to Laura during the review sent her a message saying he had requested a transfer to a posting closer to his family. The ISS Horizon became something of a model station. Visitors came from across the coalition to observe how the humans managed their unconventional approach. They watched Laura work with Maya on her back. They saw Pete and Danny and Sophie and all the others casually helping with child care while maintaining their duties. They witnessed a crew that functioned like a family, protecting each other and supporting each other in ways that went beyond military regulations. And slowly, very slowly, attitudes began to shift. One morning, Laura arrived in engineering to find a surprise waiting. Someone had painted a mural on one of the walls. It showed the ISS Horizon floating in space, but inside you could see through the hull to the crew working together. And there, in the center, was a small figure with a baby on her back. Below the mural were words in a dozen different languages, all saying the same thing. Strength comes in many forms. Laura stood staring at it for a long time. Maya gurgled happily on her back, oblivious to the significance of the moment. "Do you like it?" Pete asked, appearing beside her. "It was a group effort. Took us 2 nights to finish." "It's beautiful," Laura whispered. "You're beautiful," Pete said, then immediately looked embarrassed. "I mean, what you did is beautiful. What you're doing. Not that you're not beautiful, you are, but that's not what I meant. I'm going to stop talking now." Laura laughed and bumped his shoulder with hers. "I know what you meant, thank you." Commander Jake Morris watched from the observation deck above. He had the final reports from the coalition in his hand. Every metric was positive. Every analysis praised the human approach. They had done it. They had proven that humans could maintain military excellence while honoring their need for family and connection. But more than that, they had started a conversation that was spreading across the galaxy, about strength and flexibility, about duty and love, about what really mattered when you stripped away all the rules and regulations and traditions. They had reminded everyone that at the end of the day, civilization existed to protect the vulnerable, the young, the weak, the innocent. And maybe the best way to protect them was not to lock them away in safe places, but to keep them close, to let them see that they were worth protecting, to show them that the adults in their lives would move mountains to keep them safe. Jake looked down at Laura, who was now explaining something technical to Danny, while Maya played with a toy. He looked at Pete and Sophie and all the others who had rallied around this small family. He looked at the mural that represented everything they had built together, and he smiled. Because this was humanity at its best, adaptive, resilient, compassionate, strong in ways that could not be measured by traditional metrics. They had come to the stars not to conquer or dominate, but to explore and learn and grow. And part of that growth meant bringing their families with them, meant refusing to sacrifice their humanity in pursuit of efficiency. Maya laughed at something, the sound echoing through the engineering bay. Several crew members looked up and smiled without thinking about it. Even the ones who tried to act casual could not quite hide their expressions, because that was the thing about babies. They made you smile. They reminded you what you were fighting for. They represented hope and future and all the possibilities that lay ahead. And on the ISS horizon, floating through the vast darkness of space, one small human baby was teaching the entire galaxy a lesson about what really mattered. One step at a time, one day at a time, one smile at a time. That was how you changed the universe. Not with grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but with the simple act of being human, of doing your duty while holding your child, of proving that love and strength were not opposites but two sides of the same coin. Laura looked up and caught Jake watching. She gave him a thumbs up. He returned it. Everything was going to be fine. Better than fine. They were going to show the galaxy something it had never seen before. They were going to show them what humans could do when they refused to compromise on what mattered most. And it was going to be amazing.